Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, I'm Liz with Flourish Hope. I'm a graphic designer turned calligrapher who teaches and creates calligraphy related content for those who have an interest in calligraphy or just looking for an inspiration as an artist. This is the first episode of a 3-part series on how to start calligraphy with your iPad, Apple Pencil, and Procreate. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to create customized calligraphy brushes on Procreate. Without this process, you'll have much difficulty controlling the strokes and getting motivated to practice, especially at the beginning stage. In the second video, I'm going to show you how to write basic strokes for calligraphy, which is the foundation of writing beautiful letters. And in the last video of the series, we'll be writing a word using the basic strokes that we have covered. Now that we have covered all the housekeeping, let me walk you through all the basics from start to finish to customize your calligraphy brush. For this tutorial, you'll need an iPad app called Procreate. The app is available for a one-time purchase of $10 for iPad users. I'll say it's probably one of the best investments I have made. So if you're ready, let's get started. For this video, I'm using an iPad mini. You don't need the biggest and fanciest iPad to start iPad calligraphy, and I'm using the second generation of the Apple Pencil. I want to quickly mention that I always apply a protective film on top of my iPad because without it, the tip of the pencil glides around the screen as if it was ice skating without control. The paper-like film definitely improves friction control. Although it does kind of put a slight haze on the clarity of the screen, I would choose a paper-like surface over a super crisp high pixel. That's just my personal take on it. So let's open the Procreate app. You'll see a gallery of projects. On the top right corner, click on this plus icon to create a new canvas. There are multiple choices of canvas sizes you can choose. As for the canvas size, I usually choose 8.5 by 11 paper here. It's the same size as the guide sheet I created. I'll explain what the guide sheet is in a minute. Before we create a custom brush and practicing calligraphy, let's first import a calligraphy guide sheet here. To do so, go to the top left corner, you'll see a wrench icon. Click on it, and down on the action menu, you'll see Insert a Photo. I have already downloaded my guide sheet in my Photos library, so find the file and click on it. I've designed this guide sheet myself, and if you're interested in downloading it as well, I'll leave a link in the description. Now, do you see how this select arrow is highlighted in blue? Right now, it has selected the guide sheet file as the active selection. Click on it to turn off the selection of the guide sheet layer. Now, using 2 fingers, you can resize the canvas board. You can rotate it, make it smaller, bigger, whichever you like. If you wish to make the canvas board fill up the whole screen again, gently do a pinching motion on the screen, and the canvas board will automatically jump back to the full screen mode. Open up a layers panel by clicking on this square icon. You'll see how there are 2 layers already, and layer 1 is the guide sheet. Click on this tiny N on the right side and lower the opacity to about 30%. Now, make a sliding motion on top of layer 1 to open up more functions. Click on Lock. You can see a tiny lock symbol at the front confirming that our guide sheet layer is nice and secure. Let's make a new layer by clicking on the plus sign. Layer 2 will be a blank layer where we'll practice our calligraphy strokes. Now that we have our guide sheet, it's time to create our custom brush for practice. Moving on to the brush library, as you can see, there are tons of brushes that already come with Procreate. There's even a group of brushes that is categorized under calligraphy. Let's test out how these brushes behave as default settings. I have chosen a brush called Script. Again, using 2 fingers, adjust the canvas size and angle to how you feel comfortable. Let's quickly choose a color by clicking on this color palette. There are multiple ways for you to choose the color you want. When you spin around this circle button, the top right corner will show you what color you're choosing. I think simple black will be nice for this exercise. So with the default brush, the letters may look something like this. This brush is okay, but as you can see, it is hard to achieve smooth lines. The edges are too round, the pressure sensitivity is too high, so the thick and thin changes too abruptly. Here's another tip. Tap on the screen with 2 fingers to undo. If you touch the screen and wiggle around with 3 fingers, it'll wipe out everything clean on the current layer. Now, let's have fun by custom building our brush. Go back to Brush Library. Under the Calligraphy group, choose a brush called Brush Pen. Swipe to the left and duplicate. Now, you have a new duplicated brush with a tiny Procreate logo on top. These logos signify that these are copied brushes. You see, all of these are copied brushes. This way, we can always preserve the original brush. Click on the new brush. It will open up a brush studio. Within these settings, we can fine-tune almost every aspect of brush properties. Here, you'll see a blank space where you can test write and see in real time how your brush setting affects the way the brush looks and behaves. When the space gets too messy, click on this tiny icon above and click Clear Drawing Pad. So let me go over how you can tweak these settings as I show you how I made my go-to brush for calligraphy practice. Stroke path. Let's take it from the top. Go to the stroke path. Make sure the number under spacing is set to none. What this function does is, as its name suggests, it controls the spacing of the brush mark. When the numbers go higher, the spacing between the brush mark becomes more prominent, and the brush becomes like a dotted line. That's not what we're looking for. Lower the spacing value to 0 so the line is nice and smooth. If you want to erase the drawing pad quickly, the 3-finger jiggle works the same here. Stabilization. Now, let's move on to the second category, stabilization. Adjust the amount to be about 80%. If you lower the amount, you'll notice how the lines pick up all the small movements and mistakes you make. But if you crank up the value to its maximum, you lose all personality in your pencil movement. We want a nice balance of smooth, graceful lines with your unique style. Next, set pressure to be about 50%. If it's at 0%, the lines become a thick monoline. On the other hand, at 100%, it will only give you the thinnest monoline. Whether the percentages is high or low, no matter how lightly or firmly you press the pencil, it won't show pressure sensitivity. So let's settle for a nice medium, 50%. Under stabilization, set it to 10%. What this stabilization property does is similar to the first streamline amount. A higher number smooths out the line. However, we don't want to smooth out the line drastically, so I like it around 10%. For the same reason, also set motion filtering to 10%. Under shape, you'll see the base shape that this brush is creating. Essentially, the line is a continuation of this base shape. Let's change this shape to our liking. Click on the edit button at the top. Import a photo. After extensive testing, I've created and downloaded a shape in my photo library. It looks like this. I've tested various shapes, and this semicircle shape with a flat bottom gave the best result. Click Done. When you use the brush, it shows its base shape. Now, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see a 3-dotted circle. Observe how the base shape changes as you adjust these buttons. We're going to narrow its shape by moving the blue dots. The green dot can tilt the shape. This angle will depend on how you like to write, but I personally discovered that about 20% degree works best for the way I write. Apple Pencil. This will be the last setting we're going to tweak. Go down to Apple Pencil. We want the size to be at its maximum. If you lower this setting, the brush will not have contrast between thin to thick strokes. It becomes a blah. It's crucial to achieve beautiful contrast to write calligraphy. Press Done. Let's test how our brush feels after all the tweaks. As you can see, it's nice and smooth with clear contrast between thick and thin strokes. Most importantly, you can easily achieve square bottoms. Having the right tool, which preferably fits your style and level, is crucial in achieving the desired result. Now that we have our customized brush, you can go ahead with your calligraphy practice using the brush. You can always go back into the settings and tweak the settings to your likings as well. I strongly recommend creating your own customized brush after watching this video, so that you can enjoy practicing calligraphy with it right away. You can re-watch the video until you become familiar with all the settings for creating brushes. One more thing I want to point out is that you can start calligraphy with your iPad and Apple Pencil for sure. For example, practicing contrast between thick and thin lines, consistent angles, and paying attention to spacing and all. However, it's essential to note that the writing with the nib on paper will feel somewhat different. This is an adjustment you'll need to make if you decide to transition to ink and pen calligraphy. And vice versa. If you're accustomed to traditional ink and paper, there might be a slight learning curve when trying out iPad calligraphy. Well, this is it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the second part of the series where we're gonna learn about the foundation of calligraphy, the basic strokes. Until then, happy writing!